Hello, you've reached the Messy Mom Hotline. Real questions, real mess, real answers. How can I help you? Up until a few weeks ago, my 1-year-old would eat everything. But now, if it's not bananas, strawberries, or oatmeal, it is on the floor. Help. Today on the Messy Mom Hotline, we're breaking down why picky eating often starts earlier than you think, what's actually happening developmentally, and what do you do when your toddler starts throwing food on the ground. Welcome to the Messy Mom Hotline. Real questions, a real mess, real answers. Okay, today's Messy Mom Hotline comes from a very desperate mom. And if you have a 1-year-old, you might relate. Here's the message that I received. I have a 1-year-old, and up until a few weeks ago, he would eat pretty much everything we offered. But now, if we give him anything for breakfast that is not oatmeal, banana, or strawberries, he barely touches it. Not only that, but he immediately throws it on the floor. Some days he can eat an entire pizza or avocado, but meals are becoming a battle if I don't offer those 3 to 4 foods. Is this normal? And what do I do when he throws food on the ground? Because I'm essentially losing my shit. Oh my God. First of all, I just love the honesty. And let's break it down. Okay, part 1, we're going to answer, is picky eating normal in this age? Mom probably thought it was a little sooner. And then we're going to talk about the throwing the food on the ground. So short answer is yes, it is 100% normal. And it makes sense development. Remember, around 12 months, which is coinciding with the transition from baby to toddlers, toddlers are really looking for that independence. One of the things that they're gonna start wanting to control is meals. Not only that, but they're gonna have other interests that is not just food. So a couple of things. During this age, which is very complex because meals and appetite can be very erratic. So there are a couple of things that are happening with toddlers that I think it's important for parents to understand. So number 1, their growth rate is not as rapid as it was like literally a few weeks ago. So yes, they are growing, but they're not growing at the same velocity than when they were 9 months, 11 months. So for a lot of us parents, we might see like, oh my God, they are not eating. What do I do? Yes, they're eating, but their appetite is fluctuating a lot because their growth starts tapering down. So I think because the appetite is not as ravenous as it once was, meals can become erratic because appetites are changing and meals, yes, are thus erratic. So when parents feel like he used to eat everything and now he doesn't want to, this is around this time frame that, again, for some kids, it could happen at 12 months, like this caller. Other times, it could peak at around 2 years of age. So it is 100% normal. I wouldn't necessarily worry about it too much, but I think it's how do we react that it's really gonna matter the most, and we're gonna get to that. So the other thing that I wanna say is, yes, growth might start dwindling. So growth might not be at the same velocity. But again, independence is gonna peak. And so at this age, toddlers wanna do everything. It's my turn, it's the no, it's I, me. So anything that we could do to give them control is gonna be a lot better. Here is when the strategies that we could do to approach the situation. So the first thing that I would say is, how can we optimize hunger? So because meals can be very erratic and because appetite is always shifting, my number 1 priority it would be to how can we make sure that meals are consistent and they're happening every 3 hours or so. So we really want to avoid the grazing, the snacking, because it just creates a vicious cycle that he's not going to be as hungry because he just had a snack 30 minutes ago or an hour ago. And the second part is, what could we do to help increase ownership? So remember, toddlers want autonomy. Toddlers want independence. So anything that we can give them the sense that they're in control, the better. So anything that if they want to cook with you, if they want to chop something with you, if they want to wash things with you. So again, the more ownership that we can give, the better. So how can we give ownership in a meal? Two different ways. The first one would be offering options, right? So it's not going to be welcome to the menu, welcome to this restaurant, but sweetie, do you want strawberries or banana for breakfast, right? Giving this or that. That is such a powerful strategy, this or that. We're still giving them options, but within limits. That's one. And the other is anticipation. So ever notice how your kids might do really well in daycare or in school because they're very predictable. They know exactly what's happening. Oftentimes when they come home, the opposite happens. It's slightly less unpredictable, it's not as structured, and that's when toddlers really have a hard time transitioning to those moments. So if we can increase that predictability, the better. So saying, okay, sweetie, after you're done playing, we're going to have a meal. Do you want this or do you want that? Okay, for today's breakfast, we're going to have some oatmeal with eggs. Do you want the banana or do you want the fruit? So it's anticipating what's happening. So the moment they see it on the plate, it's not like, it's not what I asked for. Again, that doesn't mean you're going to give them only the foods that they want. We're going to get to that in a little second, but it's always giving them choices so they feel they're in control. Okay. So there's a difference. So anything that we can do to help them give a sense of ownership, it's really gonna work. I always say that toddlers and adolescents are pretty much very similar because they're looking for that independence, right? It doesn't mean we're gonna give it all and we're just gonna be completely uninvolved, but they need structure, they need limits, they need it, and with love and with positive reinforcement. And the last thing that I'm gonna say is, how are we presenting meals? So it's all about, are we being strategic? Are we being smart? It's honestly, in the toddler years, it's so much, how can we outsmart our toddlers? Because, oh my God, they are gonna push our buttons. They know how to push our buttons, and their job is to kind of push these boundaries. So our job is, how can we kind of outsmart them by first understanding what is happening to them developmentally? I think for at least me, it really helps me understand, okay, what's happening? Okay, I'm not gonna take it personal. This is what they're craving. This is what they want. So let me just find a way of giving it in an appropriate way. And an appropriate way and a smart way would be, how are we presenting a meal? So I have this framework that I love. And in Spanish, I call it the 3 A's. Amando, aceptando, aprendiendo. And essentially, we can also do the 3 E's. Something that he enjoys, something that is easy and acceptable. Sometimes I would say a 50-50, and something that he is exploring. So the whole idea of the 3 A's, or the 3 E's in English, is always giving him something that we know is going to be safe and, he enjoys eating. Él ama, that he loves. Because that way, we at least rest assured that it is a successful meal. Because I think what I'm hearing from this caller is, we worry, like, what if he doesn't eat? We're going to worry because, some days he could eat everything and the others he doesn't. So I think in order to take away this worry, making sure that we're always giving something that he enjoys, 1 or 2 things that are easy and acceptable. So it could be like a 50-50. So let's say avocado could be a 50-50. So I would do oatmeal, okay, because I know it's an easy and great food and he loves it and accepts it. An avocado, which could be like a safe 50-50. and a new food. So maybe that is eggs, maybe that is peanut butter, maybe that is a new fruit. So keeping that new always there in a very small amount so it's not unpredictable, but we're being smart and strategic. And I love this concept for two reasons. One, we're always going to introduce something that is safe, but we're also constantly introducing new food. Because oftentimes I think we make this mistake of he doesn't like it now, and then we never introduce it, which I get it because it's time, it's energy, we don't want to waste the food. But if we get used to this routine, we're also teaching them, hey, sweetie, we're always going to have something new. I mean, again, you don't have to eat it, but it's always going to be there. So subconsciously, we're already giving the message to our kids that there's always going to be new food, that it's going to be there. And it doesn't become a shock of, why did you serve this thing that I've never had? So if we start early with this idea, and we might need to coach them, because this is going to come to the second part, let's not throw it on the ground, but this strategy of the 3 E's or the 3 A's is really going to help you plan meals more successfully. Okay, so remember that 3 framework because it's gold. And I think the last thing that I would say is a mindset shift. I think oftentimes we become so frustrated because we want our kids to love and like all the food. But again, if we see feeding kids as a long-term game, our role is really to encourage and continue providing positive experiences so they can actually learn to accept, interact, connect, and later on like that food. And so what often happens is that we become so worried that they're not going to eat, and we only end up giving them the food that they like. But if we start thinking as feeding as this, this is a long game. I wish I could tell you it's going to happen in 2 weeks and 3 weeks. Unfortunately, I cannot. This is consistency. This is just having those formulas, having those strategies, learning what's going on, and really focusing on the long game. We want our kids to start liking different types of food. And for that, we're going to start needing a different mentality than maybe we were used to. So your job is to continue presenting opportunities, making it as positive as possible. And their job is to kind of explore, decide, control. And that is frustrating. But I think once we understand that's our job, it becomes easier to accept and easier not to take it personal. And now let's talk about what could be probably the most frustrating part is, why is my kid throwing food and how do I make him stop? All I can say is it is a phase. It is completely normal. It happens to the best of us. And it could happen because of a lot of reasons, right? It could happen because they're not hungry. Yes, it can happen because they're essentially just curious. They're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that if I throw things, gravity happens. So it could be that they're genuinely curious. It could be that they don't want that food and they're like, this is something new. No. Or it could also be that they want your reaction. And I think for a lot of the times, they see that they're getting a reaction from us, or like, ooh, this is fun. Mom is continuously picking it up. And all this time she's getting continuously angrier, if we want to call it. So they get a reaction from us. What would I tell you to do? I think the main thing to remember is we want to minimize a reaction. I think a safe bet in parenting, something that I've learned, is just to pretend I'm super cool with things. Like I'm nonchalant. I am this cool mom that just, you don't want to eat? Great. You're throwing food on the floor? You're not going to get a reaction from me. And I think that's really hard because we take it personal. And I think it probably happens, or maybe you've noticed that the reaction might change if it's with dad or with grandma than with mom, or sometimes it could be worse with grandma because they know they're getting a reaction from us. So act as if you don't care. The second thing that I would say is, I don't want you to pick it up immediately, because then it becomes this game that you throw it and then I pick it up. You throw it, I pick it up. So don't pick it up immediately. But just kind of pause, stay calm, and then with a consistent and neutral voice, you would say, food stays on your plate. Food stays on your plate, sweetie. Just very neutral, very consistent, no reaction. But we also want to start teaching them that food goes on the plate. No explanation, no emotion, but just very consistent, very neutral. If you start seeing that your child is about to throw the food, I would stop them and say, no, sweetie, right? No, sweetie, food stays on the plate. Food stays on the plate. Again, very consistent. We're going to repeat it. Now, if this continues, then it probably means something different. Either they got tired of eating, they're bored, or they're not hungry. At which point, I would say something like, it seems that you're pretty much done, sweetie. Okay. Thank you so much. And we're done with the meal. Oftentimes I did that with my girls. If I would see that they weren't just not really interested in eating or just kind of wandering away, I would say something kind of like reflective and say, it seems that you're really not hungry at this point. So why don't we finish the meal and we'll have something until our next meal, or a snack until later. And here's the important part. We really don't want to give him anything in the next hour or so, because then we're just reinforcing that no matter what you're telling me, you're still going to get a snack or you're still going to get something else. So the follow through is going to be important. The last thing that we can do is we can offer an alternative. So we can have a plate next to it, right? Some people call it the no thank you or no thank you plate. I don't necessarily love that name. I just think if we want to offer a little plate and say, food stays on the table, sweetie. And if you don't like it, you can put it here. Right? So giving him another option, allowing him to feel more autonomous, again, more control, is going to be a better solution. So I hope that these answers and strategies helped give you a different perspective that no, you are not failing. It is 100% normal. I think the toddler years can be extremely challenging because they're constantly challenging us. So I think our job is to, in other words, outsmart them, not take it personal, not be self-critical of how we're doing as parents, and just trying to keep our cool. Hang in there. You got this. This is such a great question. You are not alone. It is very, very common. So if you have a friend, a neighbor, a tia, a sister that is going through this with their toddler, make sure you send them this episode. And of course, make sure you subscribe to continue getting more of these messy bites questions. Until next time, hasta la próxima. Thank you for watching or for listening.